Hello, everyone. Jake here from SnowOnly Plus. Hope everyone's well. Here at SnowOnly Plus, we help buyers, ski property buyers, along their buying journey by providing them with expert help and holding their hand along the way. Let's face it, buying abroad for the first time can be a little bit daunting. So we try and make sure to reduce the time, stress, and effort that on your buying journey. I'm joined today by one of our experts, Mike Winstanley from Bentley Reed. Hi, Mike. How are you?
Very good, Jake. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. And today we're going to be discussing all things UK budget. If you haven't been living under a rock for the past 6 weeks, you probably have heard about the UK announcement yesterday. So without further ado, Mike, do you want to introduce the budget and how that's affecting our clients over the coming months?
Yeah, definitely. So thanks, Jake. It's worth just like setting the scene a little bit. The 2024 budget last year was a bit of a game changer in that they made a lot of significant changes to people when you're thinking from an international context. So they changed the concept of residence in the UK. There was a kind of old concept of domicile. So where you were based was based on effectively how you were taxed in the UK. And they got rid of that, and they introduced a completely new regime. And I think coming into 2025, because they'd effectively burnt everything down and started again, I think there's a worry that they were going to do it again, and they were going to effectively make a new regime up and make the rules a little bit more complicated. And there was a lot of fear and there was a lot of concern coming into it. And I guess why is that relevant for people who are watching this video, who are people who either own ski properties or are thinking about ski properties? It's because the government brought your worldwide assets much more into the scope of UK taxation. And this year there was a fear about what are they going to do? The headline is, yes, your worldwide assets are still going to be in the scope of the UK. But I guess the devil is really in the detail as to what they did this year and how it ultimately affects you, how it affects your plans going forward.
Makes sense. So I guess is the changes, what are the relevant changes for our clients?
Well, I think in terms of relevant changes for people, this might not seem relevant at the start, but I promise you it kind of is. Council tax. So council tax on properties worth over £2 million in the UK increased. There was a surcharge that was basically added from 2,500 for properties worth over 2 million to 7,500 pounds per year for properties that are valued over 5 million pounds. And on top of that, there was also an increase in the tax on things like dividend income, savings income, but importantly, property income. So property income tax went from 20% if your basic rate to 22%, 40% if you're a higher rate taxpayer to 42%, and 45% tax to a 47% tax if you're an additional rate taxpayer. And again, we're talking about ski properties. Why is this relevant? If your viewers needed any more indication from the UK government, they really don't want you to buy a buy-to-let in the UK, and so you're probably already of the same mind if you're thinking about buying a ski property. But absolutely, this is just another sort of hammer in that death knell of buying UK buy-to-let properties, or at least buying properties and wanting to make a profit on them anyway. So those, I think, are the relevant changes for people who've got maybe a UK bias and are considering what to do.
Understood. Amazing. And what didn't change, I guess, is the next question.
Well, I think that really is the most pertinent change, because so many things were being thrown around. And obviously a lot of those things that get thrown around are by the government. They throw things out into the press to see what sticks. If anything really gets a lot of pushback, then obviously they might row back on those. I think, having spoken to quite a lot of SnowOnly clients over the past couple of months, one of the main questions that always gets asked of me is, okay, so I'm thinking about buying a ski property. I don't really know how to own it. I don't know if I'm going to own it in a company, or I don't know if I'm going to gift money to my children, or am I just going to own it outright? Now, with all of that, there's a potential for tax if you're, say, making a gift to someone. The rules were, and the rules remain, that if you made a gift to someone of either a property or if you made a gift of cash, you need to survive for 7 years for that to remain outside of your estate. And I think a lot of people I was speaking to were kind of correctly asking, is that going to change? Is that 7-year rule going to increase, say, to 10 years? Or one other thing that was being bandied around is, would they put a lifetime amount on the amount that you can gift to your family members? So if you've got a ski property and you want to gift that ski property to your family members, could you actually do that? And the headline is, they didn't touch it. So for all those people who are considering how we're going to buy a ski property, as far as we can see right now, and obviously the devil's in the detail, maybe something comes out in the Finance Act, but your plans remain unchanged and you should continue as you were, really. So I think that's one big thing that didn't change. Another one for those people who are thinking about not just buying a ski property abroad, but potentially leaving the UK, there was a small amount of chatter about potentially having an exit tax. So for leaving the UK, some sort of one-off tax on leaving the UK. That doesn't seem to be happening. That's not happening. And also, in terms of people some people were worried a little bit about liquidity and effectively, is there going to be some sort of broader wealth tax? So something that's harsher than the mansion tax that came in, something harsher than that, the council tax rules that came in. And people were a little bit worried, if I'm going to buy, say, this property over here, do I use a lot of my liquidity up that then needs to pay some annual levy on the value of my worldwide assets? Again, hasn't come in. So what hasn't changed are any of those big measures that I think would put people off of purchasing a property. I think, in fact, it's net quite positive for those situations. And the people who are being taxed, and there is higher tax in the UK as a result of yesterday's budget, those are people who are more being taxed on their income or savings income, dividends income in the UK.
Okay, amazing. Thank you very much. I guess final words, final insight before we wrap the video up to our clients. What would you be saying to them? What's the final message?
Yeah, cheers, Jake. Final message is, it's not as bad as you thought. Well, or at least if you're looking at buying a ski property, it's not as bad as you thought, really. There's no wealth tax, there's no gifting cap, there's no exit tax. But in the UK, taxes are on income and investment are still clearly rising. And also, as positive as I've been during this call, inheritance tax still fully applies on your worldwide assets if you are a long-term resident of the UK. So it doesn't matter where your ski property is, if it's in France, if it's in Switzerland, or if it's in Italy. If you own that property in your name, it is inside your estate. And if you were to pass away whilst owning that property, there could be inheritance tax due on that. It's not going to go away anytime soon. One of the things we always say to people, instead of thinking about some sometimes wildly expensive scheme or some convoluted strategy, park that for one moment. The simplest thing you can do is just buy some really cheap life insurance. Really cheap life insurance. Either if you're gifting that property to your children, buy life insurance on that 7-year gift I mentioned before. It's really cheap because the inheritance tax tapers down the longer you own it. Or if you're not gifting the property away, buy a super cheap term or whole of life insurance, but term assurance normally is very, very cheap, very affordable, just for the time that you're going to own that property. So if you're thinking to yourself, I'm going to own this property for 20 years, buy yourself a 20-year term assurance on the inheritance tax that's due. That property is worth €1 million. In the UK, that means there's likely €400,000 tax that's due. So getting a €400,000 life insurance policy is going to be really, really relevant for a lot of people. Otherwise, it's sort of as you were. And I wish everyone the best of luck in their purchases.
Amazing. Thank you very much. Super useful information there on the back end, Mike. Thanks for sharing with us. You can get in touch here at SnowOnly Plus if you want to speak to Mike. We will pre-qualify you, so there's no duplication of work. And yeah, we can connect you with Mike if you are looking into doing any of these things. So super useful, Mike. Thank you very much for the information on the budget. I know it's very relevant at the moment, so I really appreciate you jumping on. And yeah, look forward to seeing you on the next video.
Cheers, Jake. All the best.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks, everyone, for your time. Take care.